question is, will anyone take me seriously wearing a sweater with a unicorn throwing up on the front? Welcome back, you guys. My name is Sarah. Happy Vlogmas. I'm almost finished with Vlogmas, so if you've been hanging in here watching my daily videos, thank you so very much. Next week there will be no tree and no ugly sweaters in my videos, but today I want to talk about a question I get asked constantly, and is, am I worried about not eating enough protein? I do get asked this a lot, and if I'm watching like a live chat with an expert or a doctor, you know, I will see this question asked over and over again: how much protein should I eat? And it's debatable. It's very, very debatable. There's science saying many things, and it's mostly studies, which I guess is science, but science is ever evolving. Whenever someone says science is settled, then they're not talking about science. So science is always evolving. We're always learning new things. Before I jump into any of that, I am not a doctor, nutritionist, or expert. I'm not telling you how much protein to eat or what to do. I'm sharing my personal experience with you guys. But in this video, I'm gonna talk about what I ate before I did the carnivore diet in terms of protein, what I ate when I started the carnivore diet, again in terms of protein, what I ate when I started high-fat carnivore, and what I'm eating now, almost a year after starting doing a high-fat approach to the carnivore diet, because it has evolved and changed, okay? And I know, because I get these comments below my videos, you know, Dr. Ted Nyman says this, and Dr. Gabrielle Lyon says this, and Dr. Donald Layman says this. These are protein scientists. And yes, the thing is that you guys are not understanding a lot of the time, and maybe you are, I gotta give everyone the benefit of the doubt, is that they're talking about eating protein with carbohydrates. They're not speaking in context of a carnivore diet or a keto diet. They're not talking in terms of being in a ketone metabolism. They're speaking more so of being in a glucose burning metabolism. And I have found for my body that it does act a little bit differently when I'm in a ketone metabolism versus a glucose metabolism. So just to clear that up, I am not discrediting them or saying anything negative about them. I actually respect all of them greatly. But when people at me about my protein, these are typically the doctors that people are citing. And what people don't usually take into consideration is that these doctors are speaking more so about a glucose burning metabolism, which I think personally is different than a ketone burning metabolism. So before I started the carnivore diet, I was very insulin resistant. I had PCOS, I had eczema, I had IBS, I had a lot of stuff going on with my body, and blood sugar being unstable was at the top of that list. It was hard for me to go very long periods of time without eating. I would get hangry, I would get shaky. I've been the person who's been known to actually pass out when I get too hungry, no joke. And I was eating mostly chicken, mostly fish, and I was not afraid to bump my protein up to high amounts, 150 grams a day, when I was really hitting the weights and trying to do more of that bodybuilding type approach. I was not afraid to eat these super high amounts of protein. It was fine. But I wasn't wearing a CGM. I don't know what that looked like. All I know is at the end of that, I was very insulin resistant. So when I switched over to a carnivore diet, I was mostly eating ground beef in the very beginning, just ground beef. I wasn't adding fat to it. I wasn't adding butter to it. I would definitely drain out the fat when I ate it. But I felt better right away. You know, all the inflammation, all the pain, everything was just like, you know, all my stomach issues, and I didn't feel like I needed to eat every 3 hours. So I definitely had some blood sugar stabilization. I didn't even get a Keto Mojo or a blood sugar meter until I had been doing the diet for about 6 months. And the first time I checked my numbers on that Keto Mojo, I was shocked because my ketones were like really low. They were like a 0.4, and then my blood glucose, everyone was talking about how they would have low blood sugar on the carnivore diet. My blood glucose was like 95 or something like that, fasted. And I was like, this is interesting. So I kept testing it, and I never really would get under, you know, 90 with my blood sugar unless I did a fast. So I started doing extended fasting. That was really the only way that I was getting ketones and that I was getting that lower blood sugar. But if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that fasting and I are taking a break we're at a break right now. I don't think it's horrible for everyone, but for me at this point, I'm not fasting. So that is what I did when I first started carnivore. And I really didn't see a lot of issues having that higher blood sugar. So there are some people that say, you know, you may have a higher blood sugar and lower ketones doing carnivore or even keto, and it's not gonna cause you any health problems. And that was true for me in the first, you know, 6-8 months or so. But what started happening to me was that I was waking up multiple times a night. I was really tired after my meals, and I started just having a lot of symptoms again of dysregulated blood sugar and hypoglycemia. So I knew something was up with my blood sugar, so I got a continuous glucose monitor and started wearing the glucose monitor. And what I found, and I've heard this from a lot of other people, is that my blood sugar was pretty good throughout the day. You know, it was pretty decent throughout the day. You know, what your decent looks like is, you know, high 80s, 90s, you know, during the day. It wouldn't have these big spikes after meals or go down super low. It's pretty stable. But then when I would go to sleep around 9 o'clock at night, and usually my last meal was 5 o'clock or so, 9 o'clock, my blood sugar would slowly start to climb, and it would climb and get all the way up to some nights 130, 140 in my sleep. And then it would be back down to like 100, high 90s when I'd wake up the next morning. And maybe that's okay. I don't know. Again, all this science is new. All this stuff is really debatable. But for me, I didn't feel good. And I was waking up constantly. I was feeling tired. So I did feel like my blood sugar was dysregulated. And it was starting to cause problems with my kidneys. My GFR, when I got that checked, which is your filtration rate, was in the 60s, which is not a normal number. I started to see some other things in my blood work that were concerning, and my hormones also started to really kind of be in the toilet. So it was right about that time I met Stephanie Keto Person, and she is a big proponent of doing a low to moderate protein, high fat approach if you're going to do the carnivore diet. So Stephanie and I became friends this year in February 2020, and she helped me to start to do a lower protein, higher fat version of the carnivore diet, which I stuck to like glue for 6 months. So for about 6 months, I was eating, you know, between 60 grams, maybe 70 at the max of protein per day, and then 200 grams plus of fat per day. And that is what I did. It kept me in therapeutic ketosis. I got my cycle back because I had lost my cycle that first year, and when I did get it, it was very painful and irregular. So Stephanie coached me to do this. I got my cycle back. I also quit doing all intermittent fasting. I had quit doing extended fasting before I met Stephanie because I had a suspicion that it was making my blood sugar issues worse, and I was feeling worse and worse every time I did those. So I cut those out. I may revisit them one day in the future, but for now, like I said in the beginning of the video, it's off the table. But I took my protein down again, 60 to 70 grams a day, fat 200 grams plus per day for 6 months. Eat within 30 minutes of waking. I was very strict about these things, and it helped tremendously. I mean, tremendously, you guys. I saw my thyroid go back to normal. I saw my hormones go back to normal. My T3 had been low when I got it checked in January. It went, when I rechecked it in June, it was back to normal levels. And my progesterone had been really low, was back to normal levels. Like it was amazing. So I am a big proponent of doing a high fat approach for a while. Do you need to do it 6 months, a year? I don't know. I think it depends on your metabolic history. I think it depends on your health history. This is not medical advice, but I think that this approach can be extremely helpful for people. Now, what has happened since then there's been some things. Let me fast forward a little bit to now, to where I'm at now. I am eating a little bit more protein. I would say that 6 months I was doing probably 90, 10, 90% fat, 10% protein. Now I'm pushing a little higher. Now I'm sticking more around 80% fat, 20% protein. And I will kind of play with that a little bit. So some days I'll do 70, 30. Some days I will push it up to 85, 15 or 90, 10, especially if I'm during PMS or having a lot of stress in my life. I find that pushing to the higher fat ratio always makes me feel better, always calms down any sort of systemic inflammation going on. It's just it's a nice little lever to pull. But the protein, you know, what I eat with protein now, it probably ranges between, you know, 70 grams a day to 100 grams a day, which I know is kind of against what Stephanie recommends, is to stay in that lower end. And I'm not telling you guys how many grams of protein to eat. I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing now. And I like eat protein, I enjoy it, but the majority of my diet is fat. What I base my diet around is fat, because that is how I feel my best, function my best, sleep my best, don't get hungry after meals, keep stable blood sugar, ketones, all of those things, which I talk about quite a bit. And you know, that's where I'm at right now. So the best way to know how much protein to eat is you just have to test this out for yourself. Getting a continuous glucose monitor, I'll link the one below this video that I use, but getting a CGM, testing your ketones, testing your blood sugar, fasted first thing in the morning, all these things are very important. Again, the protein debate, eating 70 to 100 grams of protein per day, I think that that is enough. It's enough for me. I haven't lost muscle. I've been able to build muscle. And if you want to talk about the muscle thing, look at my friend Stephanie. She's been eating this lower protein, higher fat approach for 13 years. And the woman is 53 years old and has a ridiculous amount of muscle. Like she has enough muscle. Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, who's been on my channel, he sticks in that 80-20 range for a lot of the time. And he has tons of muscle. He does play with protein as a lever though, so nothing is ever going to stay the same. Your body's not going to stay the same. I'm open to shifting and changing my protein level, my fat level, as my body needs it, you know, but you have to pay attention to your symptoms. Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you peeing a lot? Are you having issues with your kidneys? Are you, you know, and this is all so super individual. That's why I recommend people like Nutrition with Judy or Stephanie Keto Person to get more one-on-one help and support with this. But to answer the question of the video, am I worried that I'm not eating enough protein? Absolutely not. Ketosis is very muscle sparing, as I mentioned, again, Stephanie Keto Person and Robert Savage, and we don't have long-term data on this. I believe very firmly that a diet devoid of animal protein is deficient. That's my personal belief. I had very negative experience when I took animal protein out of my diet. I was very skinny. I had no muscle. It was hard for me to build muscle. It was hard for me to build strength. There are other people who don't have that experience, even with a lot of supplementation of these plant proteins that my body refused to absorb them. We're all different. So you have to find what works for you. If you're uncomfortable eating a lower protein diet, then don't do it. But I do ask you guys to take with a grain of salt what some of these protein scientists are telling you, because a lot of the studies that they're presenting have been done in correlation with carbohydrate using a glucose metabolism. And I do respect their work greatly, so please don't take that out of context as well. So hopefully this answered your questions about, am I worried about, am I eating enough protein? And again, I'm not giving you my exact macro amounts. I'm just telling you for 6 months solid, I did stick in that lower protein range to really get my body healed, to be in a deep therapeutic level of ketosis. And now I'm still in ketosis and I'm able to maintain that, maybe not as deep of a level, but I'm able to maintain a stable blood sugar and feel really good, sleep good, all those things, and eat a little bit more protein. So it's something to play with. It's something that you have to experiment with yourself. And yeah, I think that's it, you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.